Hello and greetings, fellow StarCrafters. PGL.Minecraft here with game number 2 between the green Zerg player EGIdra and the blue Protoss player coL.Minigun, or Complexities.Minigun, as he is actually known as. But coL.Minigun sounds a lot cooler. coL.Minigun asks why he has to do this every time. Idra says, oh. I won't repeat that. And Minigun says he's a nice guy. And if you don't know the background between these two, oh my god. Oh, and Idra apparently is very upset about losing that game, and he says that he didn't deserve it. And I won't repeat the... oh, wow. Oh, I actually haven't seen... I don't think I've seen Idra that fast. Or Idra that angry that recently. Oh, wow. He said if he was better, he would have won earlier. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, so Idra's pretty upset about losing that game, apparently. And alright, this map is Shakuras Plateau, and it's a new version of Shakuras Plateau, no back rocks, and very easy to defend second expansion. We see that the probe is not going out for Minigun. Hopefully he will be back in time in order to be able to block it. And as I was saying, if you don't know the history between these two, Minigun and Idra have actually met a number of times before. They've met on the ladder. They've met in various different tournaments, and because I believe Complexities.Minigun, like mini complexity players, used to be root Minigun, if I remember correctly, and I believe he played in a root tournament with Idra. Idra actually has a feud with a number of root players, it seems, as he has a feud with root Druby as well, who he doesn't like very much. And so every time he loses, he just rages, apparently. And Minigun has won, I believe, the two most previous series in relatively big tournaments where Idra has fought, so they do have sort of a rivalry. I don't know if you can call it a rivalry, because I don't think Minigun cares that much. I guess Minigun might kind of like enjoy making Idra rage, but I don't think other than that it's that much of a mutual rivalry. Idra just hates losing to him. Apparently, he thinks that he's awful. Which, I mean, we did see Minigun actually, bank a lot of resources in that game while he was playing. And oh, wow, he brought the probe back to be able to block the hatchery even further. And Idra's not even controlling that probe right now. Or not even controlling the drone, rather. Now the probe is attacking the drone. Ooh, okay. And we're going to see if the drone will be able to lay down the hatchery. Actually, at some of these points in time, it does seem like the drone will be able to get the hatchery, but another pylon is going to go ahead and block that, and at the cost of 25 resources, it's certainly worth placing the pylon there for delaying the hatchery for about 25 seconds or so, as we did see that Idra did have 300 minerals, and still does have 300 minerals at this point in time. He probably should be getting his gas, actually, because he's banking so many resources. We do have a Forge Fast Expand for Minigun. I'm not sure if this has been spotted by Idra quite yet. No, it has not. The Overlord has not seen it. He could be guessing that that's what Minigun's doing, and he could be opting. I mean, part of the reason he might have so many banked resources is if he sees the Forge Fast Expand, he can get a very quick third, and he doesn't need Zergling speed because he doesn't have to worry about any sorts of attacks coming in anytime soon. Minigun does have a probe out top to be able to spot any Zerglings coming in, but if the Zerglings run past the probe, actually, they would be able to get into the base. Idra is not going to opt to do that. It looks like he's probably just going to send his Zerglings around looking for pylons. Very smart, and he is in fact going to take that very quick third. Did he? How does he know that it's a Forge Fast Expand? I have no idea how Data knows that that's a Forge Fast Expand. He never checked it. Maybe he got hit by a cannon. Did I miss a Zergling getting hit by a cannon? Wow, I don't know if Idra's just some sort of ninja who knows everything, or he should spot that probe, hopefully. But I don't know if he might. I don't know if he's a ninja or something. But like, wow, that's really incredible that he knows that his opponent was Forge Fast Expanding. That's why he's taking a super quick third, and it's going to be very difficult for Minigun to be able to actually stop him from doing that, because as you can see, his cybernetics core is actually only halfway done, so he's way far away from warp gates, and that's the big timing for Protoss when they can actually attack is typically it's when you finish warp gate. You can do early 2-gate timings and 3 stalker rushes and stuff like that, but in general you got to have warp gate before you do any sort of serious aggression. Although that would be kind of cool, like a fake out. That would really anger Idra if he didn't get a Nexus. All he did was, which I suppose this Overlord would probably spot, but the Overlord's not even in position. So if he just didn't get a Nexus here and then built a bunch of gateways, which we've seen, it's called, was that MC, I think, who did that originally? He built 4 gateways and then canceled the Nexus and then used the minerals from the Nexus to get Zealots and Stalkers right away and just do a 4-gate timing attack, just a little bit delayed. So that was kind of cool to watch, but, other than that, you're not going to be able to attack very quickly at all. Look at that cybernetics core. It's it's got a lot of distance. Idra now sees the cannon. The cannon is a dead giveaway that it was a Forge Fast expand, and we see a double Stargate actually coming out. This is something I've seen more and more recently, where the Protoss player aims for a sort of heavy aggression with Stargates. It is really punishing to a Zerg player who either doesn't get enough queens. Actually, it's very punishing to a Zerg player in this situation who takes a fast third, because it's very difficult to get queens across. So you have to rely, if you don't go lair tech, as Idra has not gone lair tech yet, then you have to rely basically on queens or as many spore crawlers as possible at this hatchery in order to be able to defend it. If you lose the hatchery, then the Stargate play basically becomes worth it. So I would guess we're going to see probably 2 or maybe 3 Void Rays coming out for Complexity's minigun, and probably then Phoenix after that, as Phoenix do build a lot faster. We do see at least 2 Void Rays coming out right now. This Overlord is going to slide across that pylon. I don't know if there is a Stalker. There is 1 sentry. He is not actually opting to get a Stalker, so this Overlord is actually going to be able to spot the Stargate timing. That is a very nice Overlord from Idra, and it's going to be a very nice sacrifice just as long as he doesn't move it. He just needs to keep sliding it across. He sees the pylon. He's going to spot it. Yep, he's absolutely going to spot that Stargate, and he's probably going to spot the second one as well. Yep, he sees the Chrono Boost, and he sees the second Stargate and the Void Ray as well with these Zerglings. So miniguns, his hand is now up. He is getting the third Void Ray, and Idra is getting a number of Spine Crawlers. He already has 1 Spore Crawler. He is getting a couple more at his natural. He should be getting some Queens as well. Yes, he is getting 2 Queens and a Lair, which is going to let him get Hydralisk to be able to defend against this attack. And if this attack is not successful, it is fairly close to all-in-ish for Minigun, just because he spent so many resources on Void Rays, which are relatively easy to take out for the right kinds of Zerg forces. Looks like he's going to engage there, but change his mind as there are 2 Queens and 2 Spore Crawlers available there. He is going to cancel that Spore Crawler, so that's just going to delay him just a little bit as he slides across. He does now have this Phoenix, which will be able to pick up that Queen. There is a Spore Crawler already available there, though, so those Void Rays are not charged up. It's going to be very difficult to deal with. He does have this. Is he not completed? Where's his third Void Ray? Oh, his third Void Ray is already joined. It looks like it's being targeted down by Idra. It's very nice. Is able to take it out? No, not able to take out that last Void Ray there. We're going to want to pick up that last Queen one more time. And Idra just needs to focus down that Void Ray. It does get the Void Ray in time. Is now focusing the second Void Ray. He's getting another Spore Crawler as well. And a Hydralisk Den is almost completed as well. Once the Hydralisk Den is completed, he should be able to get enough Hydralisks to be able to do it, to be able to defend this against this attack. Phoenixes are taking out a lot of Overlords in the meantime. It looks like that Spore Crawler did go down, but the Void Ray is already fully charged, so it will be able to deal with it. There are too many Phoenixes here, and not enough Void Rays, as each of these Void Rays does keep getting taken down by these Spore Crawlers. The Hydralisk Den is completed. Hydra range is on the way, as well as a number of Hydralisks, so this attack is going to be over, and I don't think that Minigun did enough damage. He lost a lot of Void Rays in that engagement. He lost 2 Void Rays, which are extremely valuable. You need to keep those alive because they're 250 minerals apiece and 150 gas as well, and so it's incredibly important that you don't lose those unnecessarily. The hatchery is actually going to connect the 2 hatchery. Well, the hatchery is going to connect the 2 other hatcheries with creep. Idra probably should have laid an earlier Creep Tumor, which would have been more effective against these kinds of forces. Phoenix are going to take out these Hydralisks. These Hydralisks are a little bit under-defended, as they can't really take on these Phoenix alone because there are too many Phoenix with the ability to pick them up, and they deal bonus damage against light units, so Hydralisks do fall very quickly to them. There are a number of Spore Crawlers defending this area. Oh, that was a weird... this thing was in front of it, so I was like this weird thing... this weird-looking Spore Crawler with some sort of like mega enhancement. Looks like he did spot the 4th expansion, but he is stuck on 2 bases right now, and Idra is going to have a lot of Hydralisks, and Idra loves to attack with Hydralisks against Protoss players. He puts a bunch of Overlords in a row and uses the creep from among them to make the Hydralisk much faster in terms of reinforcing. Looks like he will be able to lock down this expansion as there is no creep up there. He should probably lay a Creep Tumor with this Queen right there to build the creep up, so he can put Spore Crawlers up to be able to defend that, as a couple, like probably 1 Spore Crawler would be enough to, in fact, to defend the hatchery. I suppose not from all angles. These Hydralisks do look like there will be enough as well, though. There are, how many Phoenix is that? 8 Phoenix right now. Phoenix getting a couple of free kills against the Hydralisk, but not quite so free, as he did lose 2 Phoenixes in that engagement, something he can't really afford to do right now, as he is down on forces. He still has not taken a 4th. He is transitioning into Colossus, but it's going to be very difficult on 1 base, and he's banking so many resources. Wow, 1,400 resources off of 2 bases. That's actually, wow, and Idra's banking a lot as well. But Zerg is more of an excuse because it's such a gas-hungry race that you do, in fact, need to bank those minerals, generally speaking, against Protoss players, but look at the supply differences. It's 40 supply, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that Minigun is just banking 1,200 resources right now, so he's going to be able to force field against these Hydralisks, be able to delay them. They're going to go check to see if there's a third. They're going to see that there's not. He's going to have to build a couple of additional cannons, but he's definitely going to want some more gateways. He's he has 6 gateways, which is normally enough, but it's only enough if you're constantly warping in units, not if you stop warping in units, then warp in more units. Looks like the robotics bay and facility are done. Those are going to be incredibly effective at being able to prevent this sort of Hydralisk attack, as Hydralisks do fall very quickly to Colossus. I'm not sure if one Colossus will in fact be enough. A Spire is coming up, so that means that Idra will be able to get some additional Corruptors, rather, which should be able to deal with those forces. Looks like the Zergling's got a really nice surround in that little area. Complexity's Minigun being a little bit too, I don't know about anxious, but just a lot, not quite careful enough, I think is where I'm going with this. He doesn't have any ground upgrades this game, in contrast to the previous game where he did have 3 weapons upgrades and ground upgrades. He is now taking his third base finally. Should be able to secure it reasonably well. It's fairly difficult to attack across here simply because of the force fields, but Idra does have a lot of Hydralisks and is now getting a bunch of Roaches as well. Those will complement the Hydralisks very nicely, as they will absorb a lot of the damage from the Colossus. Looks like Idra is actually going to be going for an Overlord drop, most likely onto the main, and that he could potentially be attacking the third at the same time as well. Looks like he is actually aiming for the third base. There are no forces in the third base, however, but he's putting some Zerglings into these Overlords and is going to be dropping them into the main base, most likely, as well, as you can actually see from his queue right there. This observer is going to spot this force moving out. Idra actually does not going to want to engage in this particular engagement area. Looks like the Roaches are going to move up. The Hydralisks are actually dealing a lot of damage from even behind those lines, and it looks like there aren't even enough gateway units to protect himself against that number of Roaches and Hydralisks, which just shows you how small Minigun's forces are, especially compared to Idra. He is still down by 60 supply, and he is banking not quite so many resources right now. Looks like this drop is coming in. Oh, this is a double drop into the second and the main at the same time. I think he's hoping at least that he can't that he cannot micromanage that quickly in order to be able to deal with both forces. These Zerglings are going to deal a lot of damage against these probes. The Zealots and Stalkers from the top are going to be able to move in, but these Colossus are going to take those probes out. These Roaches, meanwhile, are bunching up in a bad engagement and are going to be taken out, but Idra has so many resources right now that he's able to refuel his forces almost immediately. He's actually replacing his Roaches, 16 additional Roaches, and some Corruptors as well. Looks like the Hydralisks are moving into the third expansion, and they're definitely going to be able to take this out as long as Idra focuses fire on it. Looks like he's not going to do that. He's just going to try to win the engagement. Minigun is still down by a lot of resources right now. Idra has a lot of Corruptors, though. Those will do very well against both the Phoenix and the Colossus. You should be gooping these Phoenixes to deal additional damage, and probably trying to snipe this Nexus as well. Looks like he will be doing that just as long as he deals with those other forces, and the Nexus was just about to go down, and Minigun actually just had to GG out of the game. Idra had a very commanding lead. He had many more bases. He is at 5 bases as opposed to Minigun, who was at 3 and barely at 3 as this one was about to go down. And Minigun, we just saw basically the two Stargate build fail, and I said it was basically an all-in, and it was pretty much. It didn't help the matters that Minigun was banking a lot of resources the entirety of the time. He could have stood to gone up to additional gateways in order to be able to create additional resources. And actually, I think he did have a lot of gateways. Yeah, he did have 9 gateways. Just 9, yeah. He did have 9 gateways, so that was a good amount of big gateways. I would have guessed that he actually probably should have double roboed, as he did see a lot of Hydralisks from Idra, and double robo would have been very effective against that sort of thing. I don't think Idra could have got enough Corruptors out in time, as he was gas-starved, in order to be able to deal with those Colossus, and Corruptors have a pretty long build time as well. So that would have been Minigun's way back into the game after starting out pretty low after his little attack didn't really do much damage, and he lost those Void Rays. But very terrific game, and we will be moving on to game number 3. We also see that Minigun actually GG'd out of this game because he's such a nice guy. So we will be moving on to game number 3, and it's definitely going to be an interesting one. We'll see who pulls ahead in that match. This is PGO Milcraft signing off.